Hi everybody, today is June 9th, 2013. You wonder if history is going to repeat itself. Originally, Japan attacked Pearl Harbor. It was a Sunday, if memory serves me right. But then I was thinking, when would be a best time for a country to attack another country? Here in the United States, on the weekend, there are a lot of military bases. The personnel are on leave. Hospitals have minimal staff on the weekends. But yet, if you were going to attack somebody, you would think that you would want to destabilize the majority of the population. And I would think that would be during like rush hour during the week when most people are away from their places of security, where they feel safe, their homes. I showed you last night the heavy electronic warfare that's going on. It's still going on. Here's one image. You can see it's going across Wyoming, Nebraska, New Mexico, Nevada, Oregon, all the way up to Washington, and down to Atlanta. That's just one signal that I found so far. We got movies such as the remake of Red Dawn, where China attacks the United States with the help of Korea. But prophecy says it's going to be Russia, the Soviet Union. Very few people realize there's actually two battles at the same time. One's going to be with the Russians, and the other is going to be in the Middle East with Israel. But this might explain the electronic warfare. China encircles U.S. by sailing warships in American waters, arming neighbors. They recently had a meeting there in Mexico. I showed images of that. Sneaky little boogers. China has been quietly taking steps to encircle the United States by arming Western Hemisphere states, seeking closer military, economic, and diplomatic ties to U.S. neighbors, and sailing warships into U.S. maritime zones. The strategy is a Chinese version of what Beijing has charged is a U.S. strategy designed to encircle and contain China. It is also directed at countering the Obama administration new strategy called the Pivot to Asia. The pivot calls for closer economic, diplomatic, and military ties to Asian states that are increasingly concerned about Chinese encroachment throughout that region. I don't know how many of you have read the article that I posted about how China actually invaded the northern part of India. They're still there. The Chinese are definitely powering out Pivot to the Pacific with their own elegant countermeasure, said John Kozik, a former State Department Asia hand. Now back on June 4th in another article. Australian strategic analyst Roy Metcalf says that while attending a session on maritime security at the Shangri-La Asian Security Conference in Singapore last week, a Chinese People Liberation Army senior colonel openly announced that in retaliation for U.S. surveillance patrols off the China coast, China had thought of reciprocating by sending ships and planes to the U.S. EEZ, Exclusive Economic Zone, and had in fact done so a few times, although not a daily basis. From discussions with several maritime security experts in the margin of the conference, that rumors had been circulating for some time of Chinese sending ships on missions to waters off U.S. territory. Not the continental U.S., but probably Hawaii and possibly Guam too. Still, this is the first time any of us can recall this point being made on the public record. Well, evidently now they're fulfilling their promise. Oh, it gets better. Well, I guess you can say, actually it gets worse. U.S. commanders have also confirmed that China has started reciprocating the U.S. Navy's habit of sending ships and aircraft into the 200 nautical mile zone off China's coast, according to the Financial Times. So I bet when this article came out, they said that we should get our tinfoil hats and we're just being overly paranoid and doomsday prophesiers. At least the paranoids arise over Chinese black helicopters over Wyoming and South Carolina, or Chinese troops in Mexico. It's important to note that an exclusive economic zone, which gives a nation rights over natural resources such as fish and undersea minerals, comprises more than 12 million square kilometers for the U.S., including east and west coast, Hawaii, Alaska, Puerto Rico, and various Pacific islands such as Guam, Wake, and American Samoa. Here's an electronic signal that shows it going over Alaska and Canada. Chinese President Jinping is expected to question President Barack Obama about U.S. pivot during the summit meeting, set to begin Friday afternoon in California, Chinese state-run media have denounced the new U.S. policy as an effort to contain China and limit its growing power. Chinese strategy is highlighted by Xi's current visit to Trinidad, Costa Rica, and Mexico, where he announced major loans of hundreds of millions of dollars that analysts say is part of buying influence in the hemisphere. U.S. officials say the visit to the region has several objectives, including seeking to bolster Chinese arms sales to the region amid efforts by Russian arms dealer to steal market share. States including Venezuela, Ecuador, Bolivia, and Mexico recently purchased Chinese arms, but are said to be unhappy with the arms' low quality. For example, Chinese YLC radar sold to Ecuador in 2009 did not work properly, and sales of Chinese tanks to Peru also ran into quality problems. Both states are now looking to buy Russian weaponry, a U.S. official said. Haven't they heard the term made in China is just a bunch of garbage? So I'm looking for images, people who live along the coast. If they've seen any of these warships, send them in to me. Alright, bookmark my site. I'll keep you up to date. Please stay safe, and I'll talk to you later. God bless y'all. Bye.